As it is hot, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to my wonderfully made Biafran brothers and sisters. A voice here is the voice of Okulora One Nation, and I'm speaking from the platform of Okute Daily Talk channel, where we always speak to you, the undiluted truth. Today happens to be the 8th day in the month of January in the year of 2026. We have moved into the realm of the spirit of open doors. Career fulfillment and dreams come true. That is my prayers for each and every one of us out there. My brothers and sisters, so you get what they happen now. In fact, the government of Biafra in totality have come out to denounce. In fact, they are in loggerhead with this so-called United Nations. The government of a USB, or rather the government of Biafra, have warned this so-called Fulani terrorist organization called United Nations to stay away anything that got to do with Biafra. In fact, we don't need the recognition again. Why do they make that statement? Look at what happened now. United Nations Security Council holds emergency meeting over U.S. military operation in Venezuela. I will play the clip to you so that you will understand what I'm talking about. And before then, let me just say a piece of my mind. United Nations have turned to become like that of ECOWAS. This guy by name Maduro, with the ill treatment and the killings and the dealings, the shady dealings that is going on in that country, United Nations, we are nowhere to be found. Just like what ECOWAS is in Africa. ECOWAS have become a vegetable that can't even take decisions because the countries they are making their heads to lead them are the worst among them. Look at what is happening in Ivory Coast. How many times have that man, the man assumed office? In democracy, you have only first and second term to run in democracy in all the whole countries. If you rule first one, some even one-term president, just like what happened to Donald Trump. The first time he came, we win. The second time he lose, and he came back the third time to win. But in Africa, all the presidents, once they get into office, they will change the constitution to suit their narratives. Since I begin to hear about Cameroon, I am for 7 years today, I'm hearing about one person, which is one president for Biya. But if there's any coup that takes place in Cameroon now, the so-called idiotic ECOWAS will be the one to call you to come and install the democracy. But when all these ones, they claim they are practicing democracy, will be bastardizing everything, you never see the so-called useless ECOWAS to say anything. That is the reason why Biafra have seen now that United Nations have nothing to offer. Since they could not even free Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, giving the government of Buhari 6 months to free Mazen Nnamdi Kanu end up spending 3 years plus. After that, a warning. No any sanction up to today. Why? Because in their Security Council, or rather in that their ESCOs, a lot of Fulanis from Nigeria is involved there. So how are they going to sit and allow the other nations to make pass a bill that will be to the favor of the Biafrans? So as it stands now, the Biafra does not need United Nations, whether they are Security Council or whatever, to succeed in whatever we are doing now. To hell with United Nations according to the Biafra government. Anyway, let me just play the clip to you. But before then, there's another headline here, and I call that one red light. Right to self-determination. Why IPOB has remained professional, competent, and qualitative in its activism. That is the next headline we are going to treat after the first one. So please, as you are watching, do the needful. Like, share, comment, and make sure you keep subscribing for more interesting videos. Please follow us on all our social media handles. And my God must surely follow you to solve all your problems. Emphasis on all your problems. Oya, let's go there.
UN Security Council holds emergency meeting over U.S. military operation in Venezuela. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session on January 5, 2026, to address the recent U.S. military operation that resulted in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. The meeting was requested primarily by Colombia, with strong support from Russia and China, following the U.S.-led strikes and raid in Caracas on January 3rd. Diplomats highlighted concerns over sovereignty violations with multiple nations, including adversaries and some allies of the United States, condemning the action as a breach of international law. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres expressed alarm, stating that the operation sets a dangerous precedent and risks escalating regional instability. During the session, Russia and China led sharp criticisms, labeling the U.S. intervention an act of aggression and demanding the immediate release of Maduro. Venezuela's UN ambassador Samuel Moncada described the raid as an illegitimate armed attack involving the kidnapping of the country's constitutional leader. Guterres, in a statement read to the Council, voiced deep concern over the lack of respect for international law, including the UN Charter's prohibitions on the use of force against a state's territorial integrity. He urged all parties to prioritize diplomatic dialogue to prevent further escalation and broader regional impacts. The United States defended the operation as a surgical law enforcement action to execute long-standing indictments against Maduro on charges including narco-terrorism, insisting it was not an act of war or occupation. U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz emphasized that the mission targeted an illegitimate leader and drew parallels to historical precedents. However, even some U.S. allies, such as France, expressed reservations, warning that such unilateral actions erode the foundations of the international order. No resolution was adopted, as expected given U.S. veto power, leaving the crisis unresolved amid ongoing global tensions.
They hear the message very well. Even while they convey emergency meeting, even when they convey the emergency meeting, that the matter still remain unresolved. What they just did now is just like a kind of looking for solution where there's no solution. After they conveyed the emergency meeting condemning what Trump did, and they still give America that veto power to do as they like, just like what happens in Venezuela. Not that I'm supporting the government of Maduro or whatever he represents, but they can see the kind of politics these people are playing. They just gather just to make a mockery of that thing they call democracy. I am not in any way speaking against the government of Donald Trump. But I'm just trying to let you know the reason why the Biafra government have looked this. I mean, this is what they call see finish. That the government of USB don't see UN finish. There's nothing left in UN again. UN is empty barrel that make the loudest noise. After convening the emergency meeting, they still leave the power, or rather, the solution to the problem to still in the hands of Mazi Chukwubike, Donald Trump. He heard it at the end of it. Say after this, nothing was resolved. There's no any conclusion or whatsoever. They just gathered here. What Trump did is not good. Trump, he should release Maduro. And okay, what is the actual what I call it, charge, or rather a penalty that Trump will have to pay if you fail to release Maduro? You are going to attack America or what? I don't understand. My brothers, Biafra or Biafrans, USB, we don't need UN to thrive. After all, UN, where we are UN, Netanyahu is the first to recognize the state of Somaliland. If not today, UN have not said anything about that. They neither agree or disagree. But you call them the body that joins the whole world. Anyway, that's by the way, that one brings us to another headline we have here. The right to self-determination, why IPOB has remained professional, competent, and qualitative in its activism. Okay, this is the news that awaits us now, so let's go there. Self-determination is not a violent enterprise but a civil process rooted in law, popular consent, and also international legitimacy, through which people freely determine their political status and form their own government. The indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, as a competent mass movement at the forefront of Biafra freedom struggle, possesses a legitimate and inalienable right to self-determination as enshrined in the United Nations Charter and international conventions. I'm talking about then, not now. IPOB has consistently conducted its activities within clearly defined organizational rules and frameworks. According to them, said demonstrating professionalism, discipline, and strategic competence, unlike the amateurism exhibited by Nigerian state actors, particularly some Igbo governors and political sycophants within Biafra land. IPOB has maintained a principled, law-oriented approach to activism according to the information. Law, by definition, is a symbol of rules and principles established and enforced by social or governmental institutions to regulate behavior, maintain order, resolve disputes, and ensure justice within a society. It encompasses statutus, regulations, customs, precedents, and a vast academic and professional framework that underpins civilized governance. The United Nations law on self-determination is a fundamental principle of international law. It guarantees people the right to freely determine their political status and to pursue their economic, social, and cultural development without external domination or interference. The principles must be respected without reservation, according to the writer. IPOB's resoluteness and consistency have yielded significant achievements. Its legal and strategic engagements continue to instill political fear among its oppressors. The leadership framework of IPOB, combined with the resilience of its membership, have clothed the movement in the garment of consistency, worn as a breastplate against intimidation and repression. It is long overdue for the Nigerian government and its government to recognize that the continued detention of the IPOB leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and the suppression of IPOB are central factors accelerating the collapse of Nigeria. Rather than awakening the movement, these actions have strongly strengthened its ideological clarity, legal sophistication, and strategic resolve. The operational methods of IPOB are firmly rooted in clear understanding of the law and what international legitimacy entails. Such a movement cannot be subdued by guns and bullets. A United Nations supervised referendum remains the only genuine and peaceful solution to resolving the Biafra question and ensuring an orderly disintegration of the Nigerian state, or you can call them Fulani states. #End Nigeria now to save lives. Otherwise, Nigeria is going to end all of us. Anyway, my wonderful people, the message is very, very clear. It is very, very open danger. So do not expect me to begin to go line by line to explain the message to you. I read it to a layman's understanding, because my English is very, very simple. I didn't go to school and our primary 6 are finished. But whichever way it is, at least my message sounds very clear to the hearing of those who cares to follow my page. Have a nice day. May the good Lord continue to bless us all. My wonderful people.